Hello, visionary, and welcome to your human design business. So, for those of you who are watching this on our channel, I do want to let you know that this might be going as a recording after we're done, but this is a live video. Okay, so this is a live interactive video. People are here live. There's going to be some talking. It's a little different than my other videos because it's actually a live event. So if you're jumping on live, say hello. Let us know where you are jumping in from. And we're going to start diving into the intel in just 1 second. So today we are talking about human design business, also known by many people as BG5. So, hey guys. Hey, awesome. Hey, Christopher. Hi, everybody. Hey, thanks guys for jumping in live. Happy Friday. Happy pandemic quarantine. Hey, Lauren from Austin, Texas. Awesome. All right. So I hope you guys are, going through the great awakening that we're all sort of going through right now during this time of lockdown and transformation and inner growth and inner expansion. One of the things that I'm really experiencing right now is study. I'm very much into the investigation, into studying, into going to new levels with my human design study. Hey, Faith. Hi, Emily. Hey, Amber. It's so good to see you guys. So for those of you listening to the recording, go ahead and say hello and tell us where you're from. If you're listening to the recording, I do want you to know that that's why I'm talking to people, is because it's actually pre-recorded. It's live right now. And then if you're listening to the recording, you're going to hear me talking because I've got some feedback on that. Like, why are you talking so much? It's because it's a live event. Makuzi, hey, oh, honey, hi, beautiful. Amy, hey, Amy, oh, my loves. Oh my God, I love you guys. Okay, so I hope you guys are staying safe and staying healthy through this really crazy, crazy time. You've heard me talk a lot about 2027, and that's because it really, truly is important intel. If you look around right now, I feel a very strong push to go deeper into this intel because I think it's the most important thing that we could be doing right now. While there's so much confusion, there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of fake news, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety. And so learning human design is such an incredible way to process all of this stuff. So today I have my slides up. Oops, they're on this side. We'll see how they work. I thought it would be helpful to kind of look at things as we go, and we'll see how it works. I am going live in a couple places. Plus, with the slides, I'm going to do my very best to kind of go through some of this intel, talk about some of the charts, and talk about human design and business. So if you guys are ready to dive into the intel, give me a yes, I'm ready. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So let's see what happens if I try and switch screens. Your map, human design, business basics. This is what we're talking about today. The reason we're going into this is because I asked my community what they wanted because we hit 3,000 members. And I'm so honored to share this space with you guys. And you guys asked for BG5 Intel, human design, business. And this is a huge part of my experiment. And where I've come from with human design, it's a huge part of my study, and I really, really love it. And I really want to share it with you guys in a way that shares my journey, what I've learned, what I think is important, and why. So let me start from the beginning. First off, human design business is different than the regular human design. So human design is a study that teaches us how to self-actualize, how to follow our inner map, how to follow our inner GPS system, if you will, or your inner authority to lead you to a life that in the most basic human design terms is more successful, more satisfying, more peaceful, and more awe-inspiring, depending on your type, right? They say when you follow your strategy and your inner authority, you are led to your life purpose. And so there's a simplicity to it. But when you crack open this intel, the layers and layers of information, it becomes an intellectual study that goes very, very deep. And one of the areas it goes into is this human design into business. And this is something that Ra Uru Hu taught right before he made his transition. So he dropped the information about BG5 before he died, basically. And I think that there's a lot of conflicting information about how to use it practically based on all of the different teachers who are now integrating BG5 and trying to understand how to practically bring this intel into the world. So I feel that I've been researching, studying, and really implementing and experimenting with this stuff for a while. And so I really want to share with you guys my own personal experiment, my own personal journey. I've been an entrepreneur literally right out of college. I started my first business. I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I have been in business for a very long time. And I've also owned a brick and mortar business, 2 brick and mortar businesses, sold 2 brick and mortar business. I made a lot of money in one company. I've lost money. I've done a lot of business. Okay. I've been in serious amount of debt, and I've made a ton of money too in different businesses. So I've seen a lot of entrepreneurial business adventures. Okay. So in other words, I am not someone who's just an academic. I'm not someone who just studies BG5 and has an academic approach to the intel where it's a learning thing where you're learning this stuff and then you're just reciting it back. That's not how it works for me. To me, it has to be practical. You've got to be able to implement it. And the reason I'm setting this up for you guys is because it is complicated. And a lot of it is complicated to the point where it doesn't make any sense in practice. From my humble opinion, don't come for me, okay? This is just my opinion. My opinion for my people. You can do with it what you will, right? So when we're talking about a human design business, what we're talking about are certain things that really, really do make sense practically. So that's the way I like to look at it. Okay. And when I mean practically, I mean you can use it in your business and use it to make money. Now, what Ross said, which I love, is that he said, you know, there's something super wonderful about being yourself in business. It's a wonderful feeling to be operating correctly, to be yourself, and to be making money. Would you guys agree with that? I mean, seriously, to me, that is the most important thing about life, really, is that you don't have to sacrifice yourself, your energy, your vital life force, your well-being for anything, but particularly for one of the most important things, which is to make some money. Right? Because that's where we sacrifice. We sacrifice because we have to pay the bills. We sacrifice because we need to take care of our families. And there's nothing wrong with that. But wouldn't we like to know that you don't have to do that? Wouldn't you like to know that you can thrive as yourself and you can totally self-actualize and make money? So that is what we're talking about today. And if you ask me, that's pretty exciting. So, you know, when you align with who you are, you really, you know, you begin to, in your business, you begin to really have things pop for you. Now, part of my background also is investing a lot of money in business coaches. So I have done a ton of courses. I've done a ton of work on that end as well. And I will tell you one thing about this. If you learn your human design first, you're going to save yourself lots of money, understanding what's correct for you and what's not correct for you. Because even though a lot of people will make a ton of money on Facebook ads or on doing ClickFunnels or on whatever, selling courses, if it's not correct for you or you're not doing it in a way that's right for your type, you will fail miserably. And I failed a lot. Miserably on a lot of different things. And also remember, our charts are complex. So we are an inner conundrum of a lot of different things. So in other words, there's layers and layers and layers of who we are. So part of my design is high level business, but guess what? It took me until BG5 to really get that, because the first thing you learn about yourself as a projector is that you're not designed to work. That's the typical keynoting around being a projector, but that is not true when we enter BG5. Woohoo! And what Ross said about BG5, which is awesome, is that I think it's awesome, okay, is that when we move out of our world, our aura, and we move into a world with 2 or 3 other people. In other words, a office or a business, you have one other person, even a client and a VA. When you put 3 people together, you pop into a trans-auric entity called the penta. So once we're in the penta, it operates differently. You become a different person. So what I want you to ask yourself right now is, when you've been in any company or corporation or business, it's a little different right now because we're all in quarantine. So we're, our auras are separate in a way right now. So it's a different experiment. But the idea is, check back. When you have worked in an office or in a company or anything like that, have you noticed that you become a different person? So in other words, if you work for somebody else, do you feel differently than if you work for another company, right? So like when I was in one company, that I worked for a long time, when my corporate companies, I totally was a different person when I was with them. Do you know what I'm saying? It definitely created a different strength in me. Some different skill sets came out of me. I learned a huge leadership role because I was overseeing hundreds of women in business, and I hadn't done that before. So I became a different person. So type in the chat or type in the comments below if you've ever had that experience, meaning you have been in a company where you flower into a new aspect of yourself. You become something new. And that is the penta. Okay, so the penta is a trans-auric entity that moves in a direction of the business. It can also be referred to from families, but we're talking about it in terms of business right now. So do you guys understand that? Does that make sense? Have you experienced that? Yes, all the time, right? It's true. It's a bizarre, interesting thing, right? Lauren says, absolutely. Alexander says, yes. Megan says, I don't know, I hated most of my jobs, LOL. Yeah, exactly. Well, part of the reason why we hate our jobs is because we're not able to be ourselves. And particularly if you're an individual, which you are 100% an individual, and also if you're a projector, then if you're not recognized, then you're forced into being something that's not correct for you, and the penta doesn't recognize you. So surprise, surprise. The penta is a homogenizing force. It doesn't recognize individuality, and it doesn't recognize certain aspects of your design. Crazy, right? So this is going to start to make more sense as I go a little bit more deeply into this. But as far as the human design foundation, we simply give you tools. And the idea is, in human design business, which I love, is that the whole point is to increase your bottom line. So like, it also sounds a little creepy, because if you look at the world right now, we've given up so much for the bottom line. There's a lot of greed-driven agendas. But I'm not going to get political today, and I'm also not going to talk about how greed destroys certain businesses, but I am going to talk about the importance of the bottom line, which is basically for you, and this is for my spiritual, but we're a spiritual community. So for you guys, I mean, seriously, most of you here, this isn't the concern of like, destroying, your morals in order to make more money. Most of you aren't going to be dealing with that. What we're going to be dealing with is how to be yourself, be an authentic, right? Be totally true to who you are. Also honoring the other people in your company, and make money. Meaning that if there was a piece that you could fix in your business, and the fix created more of a movement forward in the bottom line, then we'd all be pretty happy, right? So imagine the ideal scenario is, picture your business utopia where it's your ideal scene. You're doing what you love. You are fully expressing yourself, even if it's something odd, like you just want to, create, you just want to make videos, or you just want to, whatever it is that you want to do. Feel how great it would feel if that's what you did every morning when you woke up, and everyone on your team was doing what they were best at, and everybody woke up and it was like a little machine that moved, and all of a sudden there's like money coming in, right? And it was just like everybody was like boop, 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 like a little factory, and doing what they love. So they're so happy. They're doing what they love. They feel satisfied. They're fully recognized. They love what they're doing, right? And everyone's making money. Like, in a way, that would be a utopia, right? I don't know why, but Willy Wonka is coming to mind. You know what I mean? With like all of the, you guys know what I'm talking about, how happy they were working at the factory, the Willy Wonka chocolate factory, right? It's kind of like that. Like, if everybody were happy, it would be like this great world, right? Okay. So, it's funny if you ask me. All right. So, so the idea here is that we want to affect the bottom line, but living as your uniqueness, understanding how people on your team are unique and will operate at their best, right? So in other words, if you're the leader of your team, you can kind of support your team in operating at their best, and they recognize you and you can operate at your best, right? So it's pretty exciting as a concept, right? It's pretty exciting as a concept. But, even Ross said that he never saw it actually play out in his lifetime. And the funny thing is the BG5 company, well, I'm not going to say anything about them. Mwah. Okay. I'm not going to say anything about that, but I'm just going to talk about my own personal journey, is that in practice, this stuff is a little bit different. That's all I'm going to say, is that it has to be in practice. And I think one of the basic bottom line practical points is exactly this, is that if you can recognize the uniqueness of your team and what they're meant to play and their unique skills, and then you can operate within your own skills of business, then we're going to have a off the chart exciting business, right? So the thing is, you have to remember is that there is different ways to read your chart based on business as opposed to on self-actualizing. And that is what we're talking about today, is the different ways to read your chart so that you can tap into your skill, your potential, and recognize your skill in business. So, basically, the idea here is that many people are playing roles in business that they are not designed for. And that means that they're going to be less satisfied and they're going to feel unseen. So that is just the basic that most people are dealing with. So in human design business, we're contemplating your biz design. So in the same way, I ask you guys to contemplate your gates and to experiment with your inner authority. You're contemplating your biz design and how it sort of operates. And then you want to see your weaknesses, your skills, and noticing your participation in groups, why you may thrive in a group and why you may not. Huge aha for me. huge aha to find out what kind of business I'm designed for. You know, really, really huge aha. And then, of course, here's one thing. Hey, Amy. Here's one thing that you cannot get away from, and why I start all my classes and everything you guys ask me about business, I'm always going to go back to, are you following your strategy and inner authority? Because that is actually the basis for BG5 as well. The difference is that in business, okay, what most businesses do is they think that what's more important than your inner authority is getting shiz done, right? So in other words, like if you're a projector, and I'm just going to pull out an example. If you're a projector and you're working in a company, they're not going to say, oh, you're tired, go ahead and take the rest of the day off because you're tired. Because you're a projector. So we understand that you should take the rest of the day off because you'll be super productive tomorrow. And when you're super productive, you're going to get everything done in 2 hours. And right now, if you stay and finish your deadline, it's going to actually make it worse for you and take you much longer. Like that is evolution in business. This is what we're trying to train our companies. We're trying to train everybody here and give you guys the power to take this out into your own companies, is to take out that thought that like, if you didn't follow your strategy and authority, if my team doesn't follow their strategy and their authority, then we fail as a company. So huge. Let that sink in for a minute. It's so huge. But our brains, our limited mind, our conditioning around business and how things work and how we have to get, you know, the pressure to get things done. The good news is this is all getting rewired right now because of the pandemic. So everyone has to stop. So we're all being rewired. And so it is very possible that there's going to be a whole new birthing of new ways of doing business. And the fact is right now, because you guys are so interested in this intel with BG5, right? It's really important to understand that you guys are going to be armed with this intel in order to bring it out into your companies and into the work that you're doing in the world. This is really, really, really friggin' huge, because if you honored the individuality of your team and the world was taught to honor the individuality, then we would have our strengths and we would be able to operate correctly in a company. So the difference is in business is that we all have to trust that someone is operating out of their strategy and in our authority. And why that isn't the case is because we have CEOs and we have leaders that think they know best. You know, they know best. And in a way, you know, maybe in the past, they had people that weren't, you know, satisfied in their work. And so they had to be pushed in order to accomplish things. But if you had the right piece to the puzzle in that right job and everyone was fully satisfied doing what they love, then things would be operating smoothly. Do you guys see what I'm saying? So this is the interesting thing about how the human design business operates, and entrepreneurs and companies must be willing to see things from a brand new perspective. This is a new vision. This is a new way of operating. And right now is the time when we get to instill this in people. So it's pretty exciting if you ask me. So let's talk a little bit about what is going on with human design business, okay? So we have the career type. And so the basic idea here is that the penta, which I told you guys about, is the business. So the penta, whenever you have 3 people come together. Now, if you just have a business that's 2 people, then it's really more like a partnership. And the partnership operates a little bit differently. But if you're doing business with a partner and you guys have clients, you have customers, then you're immediately entered into a penta anyway. So whenever you have 3 people, you pop into a penta. Okay, so what happens is that The penta is designed for builders. And what are builders? Well, those are the generators and the manifesting generators. You have the classic builders and you have the builders, which are basically the generators and manifesting generators. So in human design, for whatever reason, they decided that they wanted to change the words. I have no idea why in BG5 they changed the words, but they decided that that's what they wanted to do. I am not going to use the BG5 language. I'm just going to talk to you from the human design language. And so that, because most of you guys are familiar with the basic terms, like for example, we all know projectors at this point, probably everybody on this call. And if you're listening to the recording, and if you don't know what your basic type is, in the comments, there is a link to get your free chart. So if there's anyone here who doesn't know if they're a projector or a generator, then you're going to want to get the very basic, right? So the advisors are the projectors. That's right. That's right. And that was such a huge aha for me, because I have always felt like sort of a leader. And that's what I did in corporate. I was, you know, I oversaw a large parts of the US in that company in business. And that was actually a penta, that was actually an alpha, I'm sorry, that was an advisor job. And the advisors, which are the projectors, okay, they are designed to be the alpha of the penta. So think about it. They are here to lead and guide the penta to success. Think about it. So projectors are like on the outside, they have the vision, right? They have insight. And the penta, if it's, you know, in an ideal world, they're the group of people, the small business that's moving. And the projector can kind of see from the outside, like, oh, this is where you're wasting your energy. Oh, I see where you're misusing that energy. You're working really, really hard on a, you know, that's not a high pay activity. So in other words, you're waking and spinning your wheels, but you're not really going anywhere. And that's, the projector can actually see that. And that's the job of the projector in business. Okay, so that's really exciting for projectors who were first initially told in human design that they're not designed to work. Well, they are. You know, and I know a lot of people say not in the traditional sense, you know, and so a lot of people have gotten that, but it took me a good year before I heard that part of it in human design, which is fine, because you actually have to use your strategy and authority before any of this other stuff makes sense anyways, because it takes time to decondition out of your mind to know how to operate correctly. So this stuff doesn't even, you know, it's impossible to even have someone be themselves in a business if they don't even know how to operate correctly as themselves, right? So the innovators, you know, the innovators are the manifestors, right? So the manifestors are not energy types. And the pentas, by their nature, are generative. So, you know, they have a generator fuel. And so the innovators, they're not really designed to work in a penta. They may feel super uncomfortable and may be super restricting for them. So in other words, all my manifestors here, really, you are the innovator. You are sort of like the business starter. You are here to start things and then let the team kind of work for you, right? So that is part of how the innovator works. I'm going to get into the partnership and the solopreneurship and the small business and the large business in just one second, because that is shown in your chart. So I'm just setting up the foundation here. So for those of you guys who are feeling a little confused on that, I'm going to go into that in just one second. I did decide to add on a part 2 next week. So because I saw there were so many charts that came in, and you guys wanted me to look at your charts, and I realized that I need to set up the foundation before I can really dive into the charts. But I'm going to try and get to at least one. And then next week we'll do part 2, and we'll look more deeply at the individual charts as well. But the evaluator is the reflector, right? So they also are not they're non-energy types, and they're not necessarily here to be in the penta. They're not necessarily here to be driven by a small group and move the energy forward. They're here to be evaluators. And so if you have a reflector on your team, it's a really wonderful thing if you can honor and recognize them for their genius to be able to evaluate the health of the business, how things are going, to not overwork them. You know, this is really sort of an advanced concept, but it is absolutely how I run my company now. And those of you who are entrepreneurs, and most of you guys are, because that was what the comments were in the Facebook group, was most of you guys actually are you know, entrepreneurs that already have their business. You guys just want to grow your business. So so for you guys to be learning this stuff and integrating it into your own company, that's huge. Obviously, it's going to be easier to do it in your own company than to change a corporation, right? Faith says, I noticed myself stepping into an advisor role even when I'm supposed to be a subordinate role. Exactly. And that is the truth of what happens, is that even if you're subordinate role, meaning you're in a company and you're not supposed to be the advisor, your aura mechanics will take over, and the aura mechanics will operate, whether, you know, it will operate within that dynamic. So you actually will start to take on that energy. So now I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the, you know, what we're talking about as far as solopreneurship, partnership, and yes, everybody is a little bit different in what they're designed to do. So the way that human design looks at this is very, very different than how the BG5 looks at this stuff. Okay, so the first thing you're looking at is your type, just like how we look at human design. And we have the builders, the advisors, and we have the evaluators and innovators. And that is the projectors, the generators, the reflectors, and the manifestors, right? So really, it's basically the idea of knowing your type, which everyone probably knows. But if you're looking at the chart, the type you can see right here in this chart. Do you guys all see this on your screen? The chart where it's got an arrow and it says projector. You guys can see that, right? So you can see that. So the builder is the generator type. Yes. Yes. So can you guys just let me know you guys can see that, Mike? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Christopher. Okay, good, good. I just want to make sure that I see it on the screen. So I'm assuming you guys see it. So what we're looking for, one of the most important things we look at in human design business, as opposed to in human design, even though it's an important aspect of human design, it really sets up whether you are designed for solopreneurship, partnership, small business, or large companies. So the main things we're looking at are solopreneurship, partnership, small businesses under, let's say, 15 people, because we're talking about 3 pentas, and then it pops into a wah. So when your company, so you're either talking about working by yourself, working with a partner, working in a small company that's going to have between 3 and 15 people, or we have a large company. So those are the different areas in which people are going to thrive in when it comes to human design. We are all designed to thrive in different environments. Now, you can operate in any environment. So remember, your strategy and your inner authority always comes first. So you can operate in any environment, but you may not thrive as well. But here's the thing, you cannot force it. So even if you are designed primarily for a large company, you can't force your business to become a large company until it's time. So in other words, I have WA in my chart, which technically means that I am a good CEO, leader of a large company. So, and when I worked in corporate, I was able to reach those levels of overseeing large numbers of people, hundreds of women, like 300 people, But as a solopreneur, even though that's in my chart, I cannot force my business to be that big until it happens naturally and as I'm living my strategy and inner authority. But the good news is, like, we start to know, like, oh, okay, my company's going to do better when it's larger. Or it's going to actually do better if it's smaller, right? And so it's good to just know what's in your chart. And then, caveat, drum roll, please remember that you cannot make this shiz happen. You have to follow your strategy and inner authority. But at the same time, why I started out with you want to contemplate this stuff, because if you start getting in there and meddling and trying to make this penta happen and forcing things to happen, you will be so off of your frequency that you will create a monster. Okay, so I have to really make that clear, because I see people doing that in BG5, and I really think a lot of people suffer, and they really do not create better businesses. They actually go off of the frequency of being in human design, which is operating correctly as yourself, as the primary thing that you have to do. So I want you guys to contemplate this stuff as we go, but do not let it override your strategy and inner authority. So in other words, if you are designed for partnership, okay, but you don't have a partner right now, do not force it. Just contemplate it and let your strategy and inner authority bring it in for you. Does that make sense? Okay. Let the mechanics work. Exactly, Mike. That's right. We can base our vision on what we know. Nice. Exactly. So what happened for me as I started to get this download with the BG5 intel is that it started to pop for me in the same way that my design, like I'd get all these ahas. And then when I started to move on it, like, okay, now that means I need this and I need that, it didn't work. And then when I started to just like go back again, wait to the invitation, wait, and let it integrate into my psyche more naturally, then it started to unfold perfectly for me. But also, guys, I really believe that having business tools, practical business tools, are really, really important. So in other words, just learning this stuff isn't enough to run a company. Business tools are really important. And especially like if you're talking about online business, you have to know online business tools, which is why I also teach my biz initiation, why I also teach the YouTube courses, because you have to know how to do technical stuff. You have to have the basics of that, and then you live your design, and then all those things start to come together so you can have success. Also, and you guys know that I talk about this in all of my courses, is that I do believe in the mindset also, which is that when you are in a frequency of wealth, everything starts to unfold. When you're living in the frequency of success as a projector, your business will start to move into success first. If you're in bitterness, then you'll create more and more bitterness. If you're in frustration, you'll create more and more frustration. So is it the chicken or the egg? Well, I think that you can initiate the wellness within first, okay? But you still have to know this stuff. You still have to know this stuff, because it is awe-inspiring, and your body starts to integrate it, and then you're like, aha, I know what business I'm supposed to be in, right? All right, so let's go one step deeper. So when we're talking about whether you are meant to be solopreneur, partnership, small business, or WA, there are specific things we're looking at. So what I think I'm going to do today is I'm going to introduce these concepts of the partnership, the penta, and the WA. And then next week, I'm going to take the charts that we already have, and I'm going to start looking at them so I can look more deeply into your guys' charts, because I think there was like 20 or so charts. So, but I will, I maybe will talk about one today, and then next week we'll go more deeply in the individual charts. Okay. So, the definition right here where it says definition, this is one of the very important things we're looking at when we're talking about whether you should be in a solopreneurship or a partnership. Okay. Again, do you experience your not self theme at work or in your business? That's another side point, right? So in other words, if you are feeling bitter in your business, then chances are you're not operating correctly. That's just like a basic 101 that you got to listen to. If you're frustrated in your career, then chances are you are not operating correctly as a generator. So that's really important. Sometimes as a generator, it's true that you can push through things and find satisfaction, but chances are it is a signpost that you're not operating correctly. Okay, so what we're looking at here in the split definition, hold on a minute, let me, before I go into the penta, what we're looking at in the split definition is this, okay? As a solopreneurship, there's a couple things we're looking for. One is that this says single definition. So the single definition people are going to operate more peacefully in a solopreneurship. Okay? A split definition does need other people. This can be a partner or a group based on whether you also have penta gates. So the split definition does really well with a partnership. If it is a triple split, the triple split is a little bit different because they are people that need to be moving in and out of large groups, moving in to different companies and to different organizations and moving out. So they can get bored, they can get uninspired if they're with the same small company over and over again. So they may need, if they, and not to say that they can't do a solo venture, but they might need to have different types of networking and moving in and out. Now, the profile actually does affect business as well. The profile here for one, that's going to affect the business, and we can go over that next time as well. But the quadruple split is a little bit unique. They're very rare, and they are very kind of fixed in how they operate. So they too may need, depending on other aspects of their chart, may need to be going in and out of groups, and we'll go into that as well. My guess is there's not very many quadruple splits because it's very hard to get a quadruple split, by the way. So you guys with me so far? If you're single definition, chances are you're going to do really well. And if you're split definition, you usually need another person in business. Now, in a split definition in human design, there's this sense that something's missing. You're either going to blame yourself, feeling like there's something missing in your life, or you're going to blame other people why something's missing. And so that, in your own personal self-actualization, is a good thing because you learn that nothing's missing. And so when you're talking about self-actualization, split definition is an incredibly insightful thing. But when you're talking about business, you want to have somebody bridge those splits. So that's one of the first thing you're looking for, is somebody to bridge those splits. And that can be in a partnership or it can be in a small group. So let's talk about the penta. So when we're talking about three people, we pop into a trans-org entity that's called the penta. Now, here's the deal. The penta does not look at anything else but the 6 channels, particularly individual channels. So if you have any individuality anywhere else on the chart, it will not be seen by the penta. And some of you may have a big aha with that. So what that means is if you have an individual channel from, let's say the ajna to the throat, let's say you have the 2343, that is not recognized by the penta. Your freak to genius, that's not recognized by the penta. The penta is also a homogenizing force, so you better like the people you're with. What that means is that you are homogenized by that force. That means that you are not an individual. You are part of you're a cog in the wheel. Sounds horrible, right? So you better like the business you're in. You better like what you're doing. You better believe in the vision. You better believe in their mission. Because otherwise, you're going to be homogenized by that force. So when you're talking about the penta, everybody has a specific skill in the penta. So we're talking about these 6 channels. It's 3 or more people, and like I said, it does not recognize individuality. These are the only channels, and this is what's called the penta. If you have penta gates or penta channels, you will operate very comfortably in a small group, unless you have gate 21, unless you have a lot of individuality. Okay, so in other words, we're complex people. There's not one like specific answer. Some people, yes, you can look at their chart and you're going to be like, oh my God, you absolutely probably should be in a partnership, or you can kind of see it with these things. So I'm throwing a lot at you guys right now. So let this stuff seep in. I have an additional video that I can send you guys as well that kind of breaks this down. That's private just for my community. That will break this down on a little bit deeper. But so the other thing I want to show you is the hierarchy here of what we're looking for, okay? So the hierarchy of business shadows is single definitions will work great in a solo environment, but split definitions, they need to have a collaborative setting. Projectors actually do need generators, okay? So that is just one small thing. If you're a projector that's single definition, you still need a generator to give you fuel. So in other words, yes, we decondition from the generator world, but there's also a lot of gifts that generators do give us. So we have to be able to work both, right? Our own interpersonal development by deconditioning, and then also honoring the generator fuel to build a business. Generators need us too, because we're here to lead and guide and direct them. Okay, so we are the alphas of the penta. We're meant to be in charge. So generators look to projectors to help lead, guide, and direct your businesses. Split definitions will work great in a collaborative setting. So in other words, if you're a split, look for those people that bridge your splits, but do not act on it. Just let this go. See, it's complicated. Right? You're just letting this wash over you, but don't go out tomorrow and say, I'm a split. Now I need to bridge my split. Doesn't work like that, okay? Those penta channels or gates will be noticed in a small group. If you have a channel, if you have a gate, you will be recognized in a small group. Those with individual channels will be uncomfortable in a group. Surprise, surprise, my individuals, you will be uncomfortable in a group. Gate 21 also has trouble being in a small group, and those people with the WA channels have the potential to lead in an executive capacity once the penta expands to 3 pentas. Okay, so 3 pentas is going to be like about 15, 16 people. So let me show you guys the wall really quickly, and then we're going to wrap it up for today. But like I said, I added a class next week, so we'll go deeper into your guys' charts. And also I can talk about it in the Facebook group. If you're not in the Facebook group, you can join. There's a link in the description. And what I can do is I can give you guys a little bit of notes in the Facebook group this week, and kind of talk about it, because it's fun, right? It's super fun. All right, where am I? I wanted to show you guys the wall really quickly, so I'm going to have to move through a couple of slides very quickly. But don't worry, I will get to these when we do this next week. And, you know, I'll do a couple of series on this. But so go pull up your charts and see what penta gates that you have. And then I will show you the WA channels. Okay, so the channels of the WA, which means that you can lead in large organizations, but also, you know, in your own company, you might feel great being a leader of a large group. Okay, so this is the channel 360. I don't know if Judy's on here, but I looked at her chart. She had a great question. She's in my certification course, and I did look up her chart, and she does have this 360. I think she also has 59.6, right? So this was one of the things that she had been asking. Also, I had looked at Amy's chart, and she has the 2551, and that is also part of the WAP. Okay, so we have the 360, the 59.6, the 5027, the 214, the 2551, and the 4521. These are the channels of the WA. It can be red or black, because a lot of people ask that. It can be red or black. So WA means the large companies, okay, leaders of large companies. The penta is more for small companies. And of course, there's a lot more complexities to all of this stuff, but I did want to make sure I give you guys the basics. So when you look at your chart, you know what you're looking at. Split definition, single definition. You're looking at the triple split, obviously, and then you're looking at whether you have gates or channels in the penta, and you're looking at whether you have gates or channels in the WA. Then, of course, you're analyzing how much individuality you have. If you don't know the individual channels, you can check out the video on 2027. I go through the individual channels there so that you can get an understanding of how that operates. So was that enough information for you guys? A lot of information, right? So that's our basics of human design business. We're going to start here. So Alexis, hey Alexis, I've got WA. You certainly do. And so does Amy. Yes, the 2551 and the 527, the 5027, sorry. So those are, you know, large companies. Plus so much individuality. Right, exactly. So this gives you guys a good foundation, right? You know what you're looking for, and then we'll start putting them together in people's charts, right? Yes, Megan, we will have the recording for this. And also for all of you guys in the Facebook group, I'm going to give you an additional video that's unlisted on YouTube, but just for you guys, that's going to break down the gates also. What if you have half the WA? If you have anything from the WA or any of the gates, that is going to affect you. So let me kind of give you a basic understanding is you might fit into a solopreneurship, a partnership, a small business, and a large company. Like you might fit into all of these things, right? So you want to kind of analyze all of your chart and see some people really thrive. So for example, Davidian is a split definition. So we knew he needed to be in a partnership, partly why our companies merged, Davidian and I. He was doing a little, you know, things a little differently, and we sort of merged together because he's a split definition. Now, I'm a single definition, but I'm a projector. So I need support in that area, generator fuel, right? And of course I need to be recognized, but so that's how it's not perfect. We're different, but you can see that. Now we both have penta. And so when we hire our team, we make sure that everyone fits our penta. And then I have WA, and so does he. So when we go do and speak in companies, then when we go in larger groups, then our WA kind of kicks in, right? But because I knew what my WA was, it helped me to know some of my skills as a CEO in my company, and also Davidian skills, because we have different skills as leaders in our company. So these things kind of help us integrate into our practical day-to-day running of our business, right? So that's how I want you guys to think about this stuff. It's not cut and dry. This is not intellectual. This is experiential and practical. So you have to experience it in your own business, but this stuff gives you some ahas in your consciousness so that you can actually operate correctly in making money. And remember, I'm going to leave you guys with this. I also really, like I said, I'm always doing the spiritual work too. I was speaking with a couple of you recently about wanting to integrate more tools on mindset into your businesses. And I do have to say that every single morning and every single evening, I am working on my abundance wealth consciousness. And that is how that fits into human design is something I'm constantly working on. I really do feel that it's one of the areas that human design has a big blind spot in, and partly because I think that Ra was a nihilist, as I've told some of you guys. He didn't have spiritual awakenings in the same way that other teachers have, like Richard Rudd. And so I like to lay it out because I come from a spiritual background. I've worked with enlightened teachers and it is my background, but it never worked for me before. So the law of attraction I thought was a joke because I'm a projector. So it didn't work for me. But now it is. But now it is. And that's because I learned my design. And so when I'm daily working on connecting with spirit, my wealth, my business actually thrives. But if I go against my design, it stops. So it's those two things working together. So that's important for me to really give to you guys. If you want a meditation on the abundance, our monthly calls, I put that public on YouTube also. So you can go look it up on YouTube. It was my last video. It was our monthly community calls, and we do a good 5-10 minute meditation on abundance in there, and I made it public for all of you guys for the first one. And then if you want to join in our monthly community calls, you guys are invited to join in. We're going to do that every month, the first Friday of the month. And we're going to go on to the deeper level of human design, which is the 4 radical transformations. So this is really important to me as well. Right now, while we're in the Great Awakening, that's just a term people use, whatever. I believe we're in a spiritual awakening on the planet. And what happened for me was that there was something else that popped into my design, which wasn't wasn't popping before, which is the environment, the diet, and the motivation. So again, there's so many layers to this stuff. But that's another layer we're diving into on the monthly community calls, and I'm going to teach you guys diet, environment, and it's life-changing. My whole entire existence is changing right now because of that. And yes, it serves my business. It just serves my, my abundance, my business. Here's another thing. Ross said very clearly, we are designed to be healthy and we are designed to be in abundance. That is, every single person has that in their design if you're operating correctly. So if you're running your business against your design, if you're not living in your correct environment, you're not living based on your design, then that's when illness happens. And that is when wealth deteriorates. And so that is a huge key for me, and one that I want to give and share to the community. Why I feel so called right now is because I think that this stuff is going to get more and more and more important over the next 7 years. And I want you guys to be able to integrate it, and also, integrate it and bring it into your businesses as well, because it's a freaking game changer. And my whole entire life has radically transformed from friggin' pushing and being in debt and just struggling with all these coaches and everybody telling me what to do, and to frigging following my inner authority and learning what my spleen was doing. My life, my business has completely radically transformed. The abundance is more than I've ever experienced in my life, and I am so blessed and grateful for this intel, and that is why I'm so driven to share it on such a big level. And I'm so creative right now. And Bijou wants to come say hi, but she's stuck. Okay, so I think that means we're wrapping up. So give me your feedback, give me your thoughts, give me your questions. below. And like I said, we're going to do part 2 next week. It's going to be live again. I'm going to go through specific charts. I'm going to pull the charts. I'm going to talk about the charts throughout this week in our Facebook group. We'll talk about this stuff. If you want to join our monthly community calls, you can email support@raquelreina.com. I might have put a link in the description, but I might have not. But for sure, in the last video, when I play the recording of the class, there's a link to join in. So in other words, and it's not that expensive. It's really, really affordable. All right, so I just want to see if there's any like quick questions, and then I'm going to wrap it up for today because it is Friday night, and me and Davidian have a lot of big plans. We got a big date night. Megan, you missed the indicators of the small biz. Don't worry, you can go back and listen, and I'm going to give you guys another video as well. Excellent, Mike. Oh, thank you. Amy says, I can't wait to find out more. Same time next week. Yep, same time next week, 222. I moved it later because I'm working on my my environment and my design, which is later in the day. So I moved it an hour later. So yeah, nice. Hey, Lisa Allen. Awesome, awesome. Thank you all for being here live. You know, part of the reason we did this call was because of you guys. Our Facebook group hit 3,000. We're so grateful. And you guys, I said, what do you guys want? And you guys wanted this business stuff. So this is why we're doing this. And really, it's for us to give back to you guys because you guys are so incredible for us. And we're just so grateful for all of you in this community. So please keep your questions coming, and you're so welcome. We're so grateful for all of you guys. So I don't know. I'm getting a sad face from Megan. I don't know why, but I hope we can turn that sad face around. Thank you so much, Summer. What was I gonna say? I was gonna add one more thing, and now I lost it. I can't remember. Usually when my brain shuts off, that means that I am like fading. So I can't remember what I was going to say. Sorry, guys. Get it, girl. Yeah. So anyways, I will see you guys all next week. Is the monthly call Zoom? Oh, okay. So the monthly call is the first Friday of every month. And I believe we did set those up at 111. So the monthly call is the first Friday of every month, and I send out an email to everybody who's registered and all of my current clients. Yeah, why the sad face? I don't know. Oh, she's not patient. LOL. Sorry. Okay. You see, it's really, it's so hard to read texts and comments because you're like, your brain is like trying to diagnose everything. But yeah, so that's why the sad face. She's not patient, but this is her, you know, her plight as a projector. Projectors, tell Megan how much you've learned by learning patience. Well, it's not just projectors, it's generators too, right? Yeah, so generators have to wait to respond, and it's very hard for them too. MGs, they have a hard time waiting. All right, you guys, it was so wonderful to connect with you all. Mwah. Have an amazing Friday, an amazing weekend in your quarantine. I hope you guys do something really fun. All right, I love you guys, and I'll see y'all next week.